Questions for Coach. We'll start second row on the left.
Hey, Pete. Good to see you. You had a series with Vegas where you got down 2-0, and then I think it was you were down even in the third period and came back and I think won that against Colorado.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
But, I mean, do you take anything from that? And you know, are there discussions about players who, you know, have gone through this similar situation?
Yeah. I mean, you know, this is familiar territory. You know, you're down, but there's a lot of hockey left to be played. And, you know, obviously you don't want to dig that hole deeper than it is. But, you know, they found a way to win their 2 home games. We pushed them both to overtime, which gave us a chance to win, you know, either of them. We've got to do the same thing at home here. So I'm glad we're at home. I'm glad we've got our home crowd here. I think our guys are ready to play. And just want to roll our best game out there.
Right side.
Tracy Myers,
Hey, Tracy.
No, I'm not ESPN, am I? I'm NHL.com.
It's all right, Tracy. I forget what team I'm working with, too.
Today is Tuesday. I'm in Dallas. We were talking to Scott Wedgwood yesterday about Jake Ottinger and just about these past 2 games of how good he's been. And he said maybe relying too much on him. What are your thoughts on what Jake's been able to do so far and the response you're expecting from him?
I mean, Jake's been our backbone all year. He's been his best at the most important times and at the most pressure points of the season. I think he's been at his best, and I expect the same from him today.
Stay on the right.
Dan Rosen, NHL.com. Pete, do you believe that this has been matchup driven so far at all in this series? And if it has, does it sway to your favor, obviously being the home team? If it hasn't, does it even matter tonight?
Yeah. I don't feel it has. I mean, you know, when you've got Mark Stone on your third line, it's pretty hard. It's hard to match up. You know, that's a hard matchup for anybody in the league. So I think for us, it's just about playing our game. I don't think we can get stuck in matchups. It's not like, you know, it's a McDavid-Draisaitl situation. They have, you know, 3 lines of really good offensive players and then a 4th line with a real good identity. So they create, that's what good teams do. They create mismatches, you know, at different parts of the game. So for us, this isn't and I'd like to think we can do the same thing. So, you know, it's not, I don't think this is a matchup series. I think this is you know, whose depth is going to outplay the other team's depth, whose go-to guys are going to outplay the other's go-to guys, whose goalie is going to outplay the other team's goalie.
Left side, second row.
Saad Youssef, The Athletic. Hey, Pete. You were talking yesterday about how deep their defensive core is. How do you kind of, I guess, play against that or you know, neutralize that when they do have such a deep core?
Yeah. Well, I think you got to be comfortable in 2-1, 3-2 games, and I think we are. I mean, both games have been 3-2 in overtime, essentially 2-2 games. So I think you have to be comfortable knowing that, you know, you're not going to probably get 4 or 5 or 6 goals, and we've got to be comfortable in that low-scoring game on both ends of the ice, both offensively and defensively.
Right side, third row.
Greg Wyshynski, ESPN. I talked to Miller and Fox, who both said the same thing about the first 2 games, which is that despite the result, you focus more on the process. You know, down 0-2, it's okay because you played pretty good in game 2.
Yeah.
Is that coming from you? Is that sort of been the preaching in the locker room after games?
Well, I think so. I mean, what's the alternative? You know, we pack it in for the summer. I mean, you know, I think we didn't like our game 1 at all. We responded in game 2 with a real good game. You know, we've won. You would win that game, you know, considering the situation going deep into the third period like that with the lead. We're winning that game most of the time. So that's something we got to build off, and we're going home, and, you know, we've got to use that game as our template and add our home crowd to the mix here and get back in the series.
Left side, third row.
I beat Pat Doney with NBC in Dallas. So much has been made throughout the season. You guys have talked about the resilience of this team coming back in games so many times. how much do you lean in on that now, and are you banking on that now? Clearly down 0-2.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I've never worried about our team's response to adversity. I think that's one thing this group sold me on is that, you know, they've responded every time they've had their backs against the wall. We've faced elimination already in this playoff with a great response. So that's the last thing I'm worried about.
In the middle.
Pete,
Dan.
when you coached him, what were your impressions of William Karlsson? And now having coached against him for a couple of games in
Yeah.
the playoffs, what have you seen from William Karlsson?
Yeah, I'm a big William Karlsson fan. You know, really underrated both ends of the rink. I mean, you know, I've heard Bruce raving about him through the first couple rounds of the playoffs, and that's the same thing he brought us when I was there. Just a real consistency to his game. And I think what's happened now is, you know, he's in a position where, you know, he doesn't have to score every night on top of that in order for us to win, which was a little bit the case when I was there. You know, now they've got the depth with Stone and Stevenson, you know, on the third line and Eichel on the first line that, you know, he can play his game and you know, when you don't have that pressure that you also have to score, including that defensive heavy lifting, you know, all of a sudden you're scoring. You know, you don't have that you're not carrying that weight around. So he's a special player, no doubt. Good, real good teammate too. Good guy.
Left side.
Hakanpää potentially?
Yeah, everyone that was on the ice tonight's an option.
And then what has Hakanpää brought during the season? He's been one of your leaders
Yeah.
in block shots, hits.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's 6'6", 220. He's a stopper, penalty killing, physicality. We missed him. We missed him in the lineup.